Greetings and salutations, Geo Nerds. T-Rox here. Today is up the creek again, with Enoggera Creek this time, one of Brisbane's most beautiful creeks. Very much overlooked in people. You've got to walk that track. Even if you just walk a bit of it up through Ashgrove or St John's Wood or up at the Gap, it's just a beautiful place to go. Long creek, big history, gold mining. Brisbane's original goldfield was up there, and we'll be talking about that, and it's just a beautiful place. I strongly suggest you go. We've got to split it into two because, you know, it just won't fit. Above the dam and below the dam. Today we'll be below the dam, and we'll do above the dam soon. So anyway, it's been a pleasure to do this, and you know what I'm going to say. Let's rock. Hey Geo Nerds, just firstly, I'd like to thank all the new subscribers to the channel. Subscribing really helps in the wild and weird world of YouTube. And if you want to get a ding every time I push out a new video, and I do quite a few of them, smash that little bell. So, let's get on with the video. Also, as I learn more about the colonial history of Brisbane, I feel I really need to say this. I begin today by acknowledging the Turrbal people, traditional custodians of the land in which we live today, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and acknowledge that they got royally dicked by my ancestors. I take no pride in the knowledge of what was done to these people and recognise their pain. My ancestors came from Northern Ireland, a land not too unfamiliar with land theft, murder and genocide. It just seems a shame we seem to want to do it all again here. Well folks, this is a synthetic LiDAR picture of Enoggera Creek. It rises in the Diagular Ranges and it ends up being called Breakfast Creek. We're going the other way today, but it doesn't really matter. The headwaters, the southern slopes of Mount Nebo, we'll cover that in another video because it's too far up. This video will only work on the bit below the dam, as you can see here. And this blue bit I've just put in here is Fish Creek, a very important tributary of Enoggera Creek. It's only about 12 kilometres long in a straight line, but it don't go in a straight line, and I've walked it, it's about 20 kilometres. So yeah, it's a very interesting little creek, and it's not little actually, it's a nice creek and geologically very interesting. Well, here we have our good old friend, the surface geology feature map. You see the green there is our old friend, the Brisbane Tuff, and right at the top that light green is an Aspy formation. It touches that just. The light yellow is of course the gravels from the river. The light purple is our old friends, the Narranleaf Fernvale Shales, hitting into the Brisbane Phyllite across the North Pine Fault, which runs right through this creek. We'll look at that. And the pink over here is of course our old friends, the Enoggera granites. And those granites pushed a lot of heat and a lot of pressure into these rocks, and these shales have been well and truly metamorphosed around the edges into our Mount Cootha schists and all the other schists, and of course the geothermals got in there and we got some gold out of it. And what you're looking at there is the bottom part at least of the Enoggera goldfields. Anyway, onward and upward. And here's our old friend, the topological map, or the topos as we know them as. As you can see, this does not rise very far. The bottom section of it's very flat, and when you're walking along it, believe me, it's lovely to walk on because it is nice and flat. But it does start to rise. If you look up past the obvious intrusions there where the Enoggera granites are, it does start to rise, and it cuts into some much steeper ground, and it cuts a steeper channel. As you will see in the walkabout, some of these channels are 20 metres deep from their banks. That cut well and truly in, and the reason the Enoggera Dam is where it is a very good reason for it. There's a natural dike there where the granite hits the phyllite, and it's a great place to build a dam. So anyway, now we'll have a look at some of the maps. I've got some very old maps here and they tell an interesting story. I've made up a massive composite map here out of the 1895 McKellar series maps, and as you can see, it's an interesting creek. It's got an interesting shape. We're just zooming in now to the beginning of the creek. It begins at the Albion Rail Bridge, and there's a little creek there. I'm just going to put a ring around. That was why it was started there. That footbridge, never seen it before, no longer exists. As you can see, this creek has been well and truly turned into a drain. You'll see that in the walk around. It's just been dredged. This part of the creek down here's Bowen Bridge there. We've got to have a look at that. We'll see that. And this part just no longer exists. It's under a football field. This is all being cut into a straight drain. That creek there no longer exists. That section there no longer exists. It's just been cut to pieces. Here's the beautiful bridge across Kelvin Grove Road there. And that's still there. And here's the junction of Enoggera Creek and Ithaca Creek. That's a very important piece of Brisbane there. We'll come back to that. Coming up here, we go around, skim the back of Newmarket shops there, right the way down to St John's Wood. And there's the St John's Wood loop, and that is there for a very good reason. We'll see that in the 8 Chains series coming up soon. But yeah, that is not there by accident, and it's not being done by man. That is actually, and that's a quarry I found. I didn't even know it was there, and you'll see that in the walkabout as well. Now, I've made up another monster composite map. This one's from the 1917 8 Chain series of maps, but it's a really cool map. It's very big though, so we'll zoom down again. I won't bother explaining features you've already seen. As you can see, the creek has already changed slightly, but not too much. There's another footbridge there that wasn't there in the last map, which is crazy. That's all still there. They haven't chopped all that out yet. We're going down towards the old Kelvin Grove Road there. There's the bridge going through. There's the junction of Ithaca Creek. Up towards Newmarket. Beautiful bridge there on what is now Annerley Road. Wasn't, no, not Annerley, Ashgrove Road, wasn't in those days. All through there, beautiful back section there. You'll see all that in the walkthrough. And you'll start to see why the St John's Loop is here, because there's a thumping great lump of mountain in the way and the river just went around it. The old quarry's down there. Coming along, I'm just going to come down here onto the junction of Fish Creek. I talk about Fish Creek, but it's a very important creek, and we'll talk more about that a little later. Just come back out to give you an idea of this. This is a beautiful little creek. Pretty nice map too, I might add. They really knew how to draw maps in those days, considering they drew them with a pen and paper and a ruler. Pretty good, really. But anyway, there we are. Let's move on to the original people. Well, of course, the Aboriginal people have been here for 20,000 plus years. They've seen the climate change. They've seen your sea levels change. This was the Turrbal people in this area, but there were other tribes came and went. We know the language structure, but the clan structure was lost before we knew what it was. Their word for this area was Enoggera, which we mutilated to Enoggera. And it meant song and dance, apparently. Known very much for its forests of bunya pine, and the colonists just denuded it. To give you an idea, Mount Cootha was called One Tree Hill. Might give you an idea of what was done to the place. And as you walk through these forests, you will notice that there are very few old, large trees. Most of the trees, if you walk over Mount Cootha, they're all the same size and they're all the same age, because that was clear felled, probably more than once. But yeah, the Turrbal, Kabi and Waka language groups, clan structure, not really known. The one thing we did know is they used to feast up here on the bunya pines, which of course we cut down. And I don't know if you know much about bunya pines, but they're an awesome tree. Organic barbed wire, basically, for leaves, and they have on board these basically organic cannonballs called bunya pines. They contain the nuts, which are edible and very nutritious. And just if you're one of my subscribers and you see some nuts on these trees, don't go near them. I don't have enough subscribers to lose any. These things come down, they will kill you. They weigh about 15 kilograms. You elevate that 15, 20 meters in the air, that's well enough to kill you. A lot of the information came from our good old friend Tom Petrie. I strongly recommend the Reminiscence of Tom Petrie. You can download it, you can get it from all over the place and read it. The man was amazing. Anyway, onwards. Well, here we are, folks. This is looking up Enoggera Creek towards the Normanby Bridge on what is now Kelvin Grove Road in about 1890. So you can see what the place was like. Here is another shot of the Normanby Bridge, again around 1890. By the way, I always wondered where Normanby came from. It's all over Brisbane. George Augustus Constantine Phipps, the Marquis of Normanby, and Governor of Queensland from 1871 to 1874. Not a very long career. Again, the Normanby Bridge looking back towards Kelvin Grove there in about the 1890s. Yeah, this is some people having a picnic. I suspect this is further up the creek towards St John's Wood or something like that, because I think I can see a small weir in the background when there's one up there somewhere. And again, this is the Normanby Bridge, not looking to looking a bit worse for wear. I think the floods are not a new thing in this creek. Yeah, that's again about the 1890s. As you can see, there's been quite a few bridges there. This is actually from the hospital, looking out over the creek before they've chopped it and cut it. You can look down there. This is not too old, early 1900s. Some people having a nice picnic again. I suspect this is down towards Ashgrove. Just look at the width of the creek and whatever. Guy's got a gun in the photo there. Not very PC nowadays. Got a baby next to the gun. Not real great, but anyway. This is the camp up towards where they were building the Enoggera Reservoir, where the boys were camped. The contractor's name was Cooper. He had a camp at the end of Cooper's Camp Road. Strangely enough, see, Stephen, I did listen. This is the actual construction of the dam where they were digging into the rock. The Victorian women, they're so well dressed to go out and look at a digging site, but horses did the work, guys. Millions of horses have died. It's amazing. Here's the dam when it was finished. The spillway's there. That spillway's been remodelled a couple of times by us once or twice and by nature once or twice, but it seems to have withstood the test of time. And this is how you went for a picnic out in the Enoggera Reservoir. You took all the gear and the horses and the carts and all the relatives. Looked like a pretty good day out. And of course, we could have the same day out, but we could have it in colour. I found a colourised version of that as well, which I thought was really nice. I can't help but feel sorry for the horses. These poor things. But anyway, I love horses. I love the smell of them. I love everything they do. And this is from Eildon Hill, looking towards Enoggera Creek, back towards the city. So there's Enoggera Creek down in the valley there. That's the oldie days. There is a heap of photos around, but I thought I'd pick a few that might show you what life was like then. Well, folks, here we are again in the city. I think we're going to fly up Ann Street today, just because we can. Get sick of Queen Street. Over out through the valley here, we're just having a quick look at James Street there. Off we go through the Crane again because we can, over Tenerife. We're going to hook around here, and this is where we're going to start our run up Enoggera Creek. The entrance here, of course, which is Breakfast Creek. We all know that now, and there's the Breakfast Creek Hotel over the main railway yards there, and this is where it starts, right at this bridge. There used to be a little creek down there which is gone, footbridge that's gone. It's all gone, they've ripped it up. Up through the Windsor Reach there, again, there's just a drainage channel here in Edos. They've ripped it up so much. And we're going over here, we're going to see that beautiful bridge across Kelvin Grove there, across the creek. And we're just stopping here briefly because this is the junction of Ithaca Creek. It's a major point in the watersheds here, they join together. Back over here, here's the Newmarket shops here, and it cruises around just big cliff there, about 20 metres high. Here's the creek running up towards Ashgrove. Now it's in Ashgrove, really. Beautiful straight run over to Mount Cootha, over to, well, not towards Mount Cootha. This is the Enoggera Army Base we're on top of here, and that's the St John's Loop there I showed you in the other map with all the... it's a beautiful piece of the creek there. I strongly suggest you walk it. So we'll hang around here. That's St John's Loop on top of Enoggera Mountain, Mount Enoggera, I don't know what it's called, Enoggera Hill. Goes around here, then we start running straight up the valley towards the dam. Beautiful piece of creek through here. It meanders, and it's a long way if you walk it, but it's really worth it. Up to the dam wall, and the creek continues out the other side of the dam, and we'll look at that in a near future. And here's the spillway. There's two spillways. There's a hard one and there's the emergency spillway. And there we go. That's the extent of Enoggera Creek.
Here we are again, GeoNerds. We're over at Albion Station today. We're just going to have a bit of a look around of the Enoggera Creek. We're going to walk quite a lot of its length, and this is the place to start. So I just thought I'd spin you around and show you a bit of Albion. It looks absolutely beautiful this morning. Of course, it never used to be called Albion. It used to be called Breakfast Creek. Anyway, let's see what we can see. Guys, we won't be able to use the audio. This is the beginning of Enoggera Creek, right there, where those three pylons are. It's the new Cross River Rail Bridge. Sorry I can't get any closer. Just after a flood here, and it's all a bit of a mess. Anyway, this is the beginning. Let's go for a walk, see what the rest of it looks like. Hey GeoNerds, here we are again. Today we're on the bike path that runs along the side of the Enoggera Creek, and it's one of the more beautiful bike paths in Brisbane. There's just no question of that. Now it actually follows an interesting scar, and I'll flip up to I'm going to flip you around and show you some stuff from just where we are now. So if you look over here, sorry about into the sun, hang on a sec, let's just flip this thing. See what I'm doing. Right, here's a Hanson batching plant, Hanson concrete batching plant. Of course you have to have concrete batching plants in the city because concrete doesn't keep forever. You're going to build buildings, you can't bring the concrete for 2 hours in a truck. You'll be buying a new truck. And this is the Nielsen batching plant. This is interesting because if you look in front of us here, you can see a scar in the landscape running from basically over there and across here. And I'm going to put a diagram up soon to show you what that is, but that Nielsen batching plant is an artificial island built with concrete blocks all around it, big, I'd say 5-ton concrete blocks. And it used to be on the other side of the river, or the creek. And what you're seeing in front of us here in this green hollow with this she oak in it is the old creek bed, which was filled in the 1930s, not culverted, filled in. Since then they've dug it all up and put stormwater under here. Then they dug it up again and put lights under it and everything, which is awesome, don't get me wrong. So I'm going to put a map up just now and you'll see the shape of this bow here that we're walking on. And this was the original Enoggera Creek. This was the creek that you'll see in the photos from the 1800s with the Aboriginal fish traps in it and the beautiful rock bars and people on sailing boats sailing up and down here. Not anymore. What Enoggera Creek is down here now is a drainage trench that pretty much just follows the bed of the original Enoggera Creek. All of the original strata has been destroyed. So yeah, anyway, as you can see as we come around the corner here, it's pretty obvious where the old creek bed used to be. There are those big concrete blocks I was telling you about. Now, if we were here 3 weeks ago, the water here would have been over my head. This thing was probably 6-8 feet deep in water. All these houses got flooded, all these streets got flooded. And it's happened every 20 or 30 years ever since this place was settled by colonialists. And if you go back through the silt records, it's happened forever. We've just had 2 in 10 years, which is unusual, but not impossible. Unlikely, improbable, but not impossible. Anyway, more in a bit. Here we are a little further along the track. You can clearly see the people up in the Nielsen badging plant knew what a flood was, although the people in those houses over there don't seem to. And this is the old creek bed, right in front of us. It just comes through here and it rejoins what is now called Enoggera Creek, which is, just a straight drainage channel. By the way, a very big tide today. Be interesting later on when it finishes running. Still got a bit of run left in it. And this is a rail bridge. This is not the old rail bridge. We'll see that in a minute. This is one they rebuilt and they moved this line slightly at some stage. You can see that on the maps, but anyway, let's go for a bit of a wander. As you can see, this is a fairly new bridge. Pre-stressed concrete beams, galvanised fittings, covered in graffiti. Not that old. The next one we're going to see is quite a bit older though. To give you a quick shot of the anti-scour here, it's got a wire mesh cover over it, but that's all schist from around Brisbane. Hornfells, metamorphised phyllite, and you can see the quartz veining in it, the structure, the foliations. There's a lot of this around Brisbane and it's awesome stuff. It doesn't degrade, it just sits there, it's as heavy as hell. This has been through quite a few floods and nothing. Little park at the base of Windsor here and some of the recovered land. And in the middle of this, there's a big mango tree. And every time you see a mango tree in Queensland, pretty much anywhere, that is by itself. Even if it's not by itself, somebody used to live there. There was a house. You see them out in the bush here all the time, 2 or 3 mango trees. You go over there and have a look, you'll see the stumps of an old house or something there. Because people needed to eat mangoes, they liked them. And that's still there, growing beautifully, probably putting out fruit. Nowadays it probably just feeds a few hundred flying foxes. Big high tide here today, people. Here we are on Enoggera Creek. The concept of how many bridges there are across Enoggera Creek's a bit abstract because they built the whole freeway on top of it and it just goes on. So that one over the back there with the cars on it is Bowen Bridge Road, which is fantastic. As you can see, that's all part of the M7 tunnel paraphernalia. The interesting bit's down here. This is a really high tide today, and that is a drain with a backflow diverter on it, and the tide is now quite a lot higher than the road. If you look over in here, that whole intersection and that side would normally be filled up with water. So that flow diverter's worked really well. It's kept the tide out of the streets. Just heading into the Northey Street garden complex. It's on the banks of Enoggera Creek, and it's a great spot. I like it. Someone down here seems to really like the use of a certain unmentionable medicinal herb, but because you smell it all the time down here. But hey, T-Rox doesn't judge. I'm doing me any harm, and little doubt the organic gardens here work well. Anyway, we'll have a bit of a wander through here and we'll show you where the old creek was. More in a minute. Well, Geo nerds, here we are on the banks of Enoggera Creek. As you can see behind me, the water's right up high because we're at king tide. We're a little further along now. A bit of a history lesson for you here. It's a history lesson, I'm not a teacher. Some history for you. This area I'm about to swing around on, I'll just spin you around. This area during World War II was occupied by the United States Armed Forces. The American Army had a base over there, and up on the road up there, the American Navy stores had a base. And over there about where those goalposts are, there was a ramp down to this area. And the creek then ran way up there. And I'll put a map up and show you in a sec. Right around all the way across, and it came back down where this other drain is. And then did some things that are no longer visible, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. And so what they are, as much as I have nothing but thanks for the Americans for stopping my name being Shinji in World War II, they were grubs. And when they were leaving, they had a bit too much stuff. So they just put it all into that creek over there. They filled the entire creek with American junk. Goodness knows what. And then they put dirt over that and filled the whole thing in. And by then they dug this channel behind us, and it's been widened a couple of times since then. But there are reports in the Courier Mail of people in this area reporting that their silverware overnight went black. Now, you know, what's black on silver? Probably silver nitrate. So somewhere in here they probably dumped a crap load of nitric acid and it's just done its thing. Anyway, this is why this is a park. The other thing is, where I'm standing now 2 weeks ago would have been 2 meters deep in water. Those shops over there had a meter of water through them. And I'm a long way below that, so yeah, this is not a place you ever want to live. But certainly it's a lovely recreation spot nowadays, and it's very popular. They play hockey here, they play baseball over there. Goodness knows what they play here at night. But anyway, let's just follow this creek a bit further. There's another really good footbridge over Enoggera Creek, and it's right in the middle of a flying fox colony. There are thousands of them. About 100 metres either side of this bridge. I'll give you a bit of a look at them in a minute. I think these are amazing birds. Did I say birds? Sorry, bats. There they are there, up in the trees. Just amazing creatures. We'll see them up. Give you something a bit better. And there are, as far as you can see, there are absolutely thousands of these things. And as you can hear by the audio, they're not quiet creatures. Although this creek looks a little more natural here, it isn't. It's still a drain. So we'll get out of this drain soon, but I just think it's amazing that we have flying foxes here on both sides of the riverbank. That's probably 200 metres up there, all the way down here, probably 50-100 metres down that way, and a few bin chickens over there along for the ride. Anyway, more in a bit. So here we have a couple of probably 50,000 litre, I'm not sure how deep into the ground they go, tanks on the side of the path. And these take water from a weir system here that keeps the salt water out. And, well, keeps it out usually, obviously not all the time. And they feed it into these tanks and they use it to water all the gardens here. So all the plants, sprinklers for the grass, and there's a lot of grass here. It's all watered from what would be called recycled water, wastewater. Not really, it's just not potable town water, which is good. As you can see, they get flooded too. There they are there, the overflow pipe up the top there. And the weir that gets them is just up here. We'll have a look at that in a few seconds. So we picked a pretty good day to come down here actually, because we got this king tide happening. Hasn't quite turned here yet. You can see the water is really high, and you'll be able to see this weir in action. So this side of the weir is the creek. There's Enoggera Creek. See the little basin there is filling up with creek water. Pretty good spot to fish, I'd reckon, but anyway, it's all spilled over through here, And you can see on the other side, it's freshwater, it's about 1.5 foot lower. And that's probably from the runoff that we've had in the last few days from the rain. And those big tanks are pumped up out of the water on the other side of that weir, as a matter of fact. You sort of see it there now. They don't need the water, they'll let the salt water in. If they do need it, they don't. Anyway, that's the weir system. And this actually is where the creek used to flow, around the back of these houses. And of course, they filled it all in to make sports grounds. Soccer fields over there, all got flooded, 2 metres of water. Right, here's some of the soccer paraphernalia here where it floated down to, but anyway. As you can see, this is not a new bridge. This has been here a really long time. We'll have a look at the structure underneath, probably the 1930s by the look of it. Beautiful, strong bridge. But does it flood? Yep, goes over the railings. There's 2 of them actually, there's one on this side, one on the other side. We'll have a look at the others in a minute. I've actually panned a bit of gold out from under this, some little tiny micro dots a few years ago. But after this flood, we have to wait for the water to go down a bit. She's pretty. This is usually only about a few inches deep. Now it's full of water. Oh yeah, board cast concrete, steel, pretty nice. Probably pre-World War II, that one. Let's say 1920s, maybe even 1930s, I don't know. I could look it up. I'll put it on the screen. I will look it up. Nicely done. Strong bridge. And next to it we have a modern bridge. Obviously we had to go to 4 lanes at some stage. And also a beautiful structure. Nicely made. Oh, this poor little park's been well and truly smashed flat by the floods. Dog-proof fences, etc. Caution. Well, it doesn't say don't come in, it just says caution, so I'll do some caution. So here we have the little weir on Enoggera Creek, and this was designed to keep the salt water on this side on high tides from getting up into there, and it gave them a source of fresh drinking water for the new suburb of Newmarket. Newmarket being a cattle market, they had to give the cattle something to drink. I'll put up an image of the Newmarket cattle yards from the 1800s, and this wall was built in the 1800s. And you can see by the water running over it, that shale is still releasing a lot of water. It hasn't rained here for about a week, and as you can see, that shale is still letting out a lot of water. But anyway, a good time to come through the creek. Unusual to find Australian creek with water in it. You see all the detritus from the flood here piled up. Crazy. Hey Geo Nerds, here we are at a rather important place in Brisbane. This is the junction of Enoggera Creek and Enoggera Creek. Not that easy to get to, it's not on the way to anywhere. So you'd have to come here for a reason. Anyway, you don't have to because I've done it. And we'll just spin you around and we'll show you how this works. So here we have coming out of the Brisbane Firelight, Enoggera Creek. Coming through here, heading downstream, and over there we have Enoggera Creek, coming out of the eastern side of Mount Cootha, draining all of that area, Barden, etc. And it joins right here, and there's Enoggera Creek heading off down towards where we've just come from, really. Yet another amazing bridge across Enoggera Creek. Pedestrian bridge. This is all part of the Enoggera Creek Bikeway. Something I strongly recommend anyone who can come and walk it. It's great. Lovely to see an urban creek flowing wild, clear and free. Well, here we are, Geo Nerds, still on Enoggera Creek bike track, coming up to actually Newmarket. This creek did a big loop out to the west, turned north. Now it's coming back to nearly kiss Newmarket Road. There it is up there with those cars are. See under that big fig tree, that's Newmarket Road. No, not Newmarket Road, Kelvin Grove Road, sorry. And this is, I think, might be Ashgrove Avenue or something coming off here. But the thing up here is this bridge. Let's have a good look at that. It looks lovely. Here we are, coming up to this awesome looking little bridge. And the creek is another beautiful little babbling stream. It's just started to rain actually, which is just lovely. I love walking in the rain. However, my camera doesn't. The last time I did that, it spent a week in kitty litter. But anyway, it's not raining very heavily yet. We'll keep it undercover. This is a beauty old bridge. Again, same structure as the other one. I'd say 1920s, 1930s. Concrete, wooden slat, poured concrete. Built very solid, but not high enough. Because again, the flood goes about a metre over those railings when it really gets going. Anyway, I didn't even know you could walk under this. It's fantastic. Love the audio. Beautiful. And on top of that big high bank over there, that is slowly collapsing, are the Newmarket shops. Perhaps not a great place to build them, but anyway, there's beautiful rainforest starting up here. It's been planted, let's be real, but hey, it wouldn't keep going if the climate wasn't here. Beautiful stuff. Onwards and westwards. Well, Geo Nerds, we're in Quandong Street, Newmarket, Ashgrove, not sure where it is, but right here where we're standing, we are standing on the North Pine Fault. That way, Narrowly Fernvale. This way, Bunbury Fairlight. Unfortunately, we can't access the creek just at the moment where it crosses it, but we can access it up here and we should see the different rocks. So let's go and have a look at that. Hey, T-Rox from the future here. This is a video shot out of the window of my friend's house. He lives on Enoggera Creek at St John's Wood, and this was about 3 weeks ago. So these floods are serious up here and they need to be treated very, very seriously. Here we are, folks, back on Enoggera Creek. Got a bit dark the other day, had to call adjourn, but we're back again to finish her off today. This is a beautiful creek here, all granite, so the water's beautiful and clean. This is in a beautiful old concrete bridge with another metal bridge on the other side, and we'll go a bit further. Beautiful structured bridge, bit of echo in here, and look at the creek, it's just beautiful heading away up there. We'll continue on. Beautiful big outcropping of granite. You can see where that rock is split. And all the way through there. This is the Enoggera granites. But river courses and creeks have a habit of running along geoclines. You quite often find one rock on one side and another one on the other. Not yet here, but I think we might further up. And it's raining again. Well folks, here we are crossing Enoggera Creek on a beautiful bridge. a really nice part of the creek here. Microclimate, granite country, beautiful rainforest environment. Just up behind Payne Road, heading towards the Enoggera Dam. We should be there soon. Beautiful creek here in another rainforest microclimate. That bridge is on Illawarra Street, but you know, I don't like to speak Illawarra. Sorry, it had to happen. But anyway, this creek just never ever disappoints up here. It's just beautiful every single stretch. The creek's really quite sedate up here. This is north of upstream of School Road, still following Payne Road, not too far from Dillon Road. A couple of stormwater drains there straight into the creek, so you know, next time you think it's okay to tip petrol, diesel or oil down your drains, it's not. So there's a really nice little lookout here they've built, sitting on top of about 20 tonnes of concrete, but obviously it's still here, so it must have worked. And the creek is of course beautiful, but what I'd like to point out to you is the composition of the rocks in that gravel bar. They're river pebbles, which you'd expect, and they're fairly rounded, so they rolled a bit, but they're not all granite. That black stuff is schist. Somewhere above us we're shedding schist, so we're not too far away from the join. We'll have a look at that when we get a little further up and we see some exposed. Nice bamboo over there. Look at the size of that bamboo. Man, it's just enormous. Wow. That is a serious stand of bamboo. There's a nice concrete bike park up there that you can walk along. But down here we've got the beautiful prepared track, and I like this a lot more. Reforestation going on here. People have got their own water habitat recoveries. Good luck to them. One of those people should be Australian of the Year, I reckon. Not some public servant's been paid millions of dollars all his life to do what he did. Or she. This has been here a long time. See the old steps going down to the river there, down to the creek. This is certainly all granite on this side. Well, we'll see what the other side brings us in a few minutes. You know, these people up here in the gap, they like their place. Here's a beautiful little bridge across a little bubbling creek, doesn't even get a name. And it's got a beautiful bench on it to sit there and enjoy it. I can see how people would fall in love with this landscape. It's truly nice. I can see why the Aboriginal people were a bit pissed about getting chucked out of this landscape, because it's truly nice. Here we are in a bit of the creek, just down near Payne Road, Cora something Park. If you look at that granite in front of us, it has a massive amount of geothermal quartz in it. It's all through there. It's all through there, and I've been seeing it eroding out in the creek. If you look in the gravel beds, you can see it. So yeah, this is changing, because the other stuff down there had no geothermal quartz in it. It's probably why the gold boys, the Enoggera goldfields, were here. That probably does contain mineralisation, so it'll be interesting to see. Folks, what we've got on the other side over here is a deposit of rounded river gravels, granite river gravels, followed by clays and sandstones, which are made out of this granite. So this creek, a creek like this, has been coming through here for a very long time. You can see the basement rock there, which is good old round hard granite, and there's all that sedimentary stuff sitting on top of it that's been cut through by the creek. Here we have the junction of Enoggera Creek and a little creek that's not really known. I'd call it Dillon Creek because it comes from up Dillon Roadway, and of course the stone stacking monkeys have been here. Wasn't me, Steve, honestly. Again, I keep saying this, but this is a beautiful creek up this area. You can see how close this creek cuts to Mount Cootha. Right there. Anyway, just climbing out of the valley now to head over to another section of it. And I came just past this place, and I'm sure it's a wonderful community organisation called the Ashgrove Men's Shed. You know, I thought we were over that. Not so PC anymore, but anyway. Looks like a nice place. There's a section of creek off Enoggera Street. It's just come over a big ridge, and there's ridges on both sides, and it's the same geology on both sides, and it's reasonably straight. So it tends to indicate this has followed a fault line or something, and it's just carved it out because it couldn't really get a meander going. The rock is too hard. It is a very pretty place. I think we'll follow this along a bit, see where it goes. Now the creek widens out here to about 50 metres wide, and there's a spree field of boulders and whatever, but some of these boulders are the size of cars, and they're very rounded, which means, you know, they've been rolled along a bit. Should always be humbled by the power of flowing water. Let's see some more. These are these manhole covers I've been telling you about. They're every 20 metres or so, and whatever they're covering is underneath that. I do find it hard to believe that a pipe is buried under that. It definitely heads up the creek that way, because I can see another one up in the distance there. So this is what the forest is like up here at the top end of Enoggera Creek. Beautiful little path. It's a bit rocky in places, but you know, any reasonably ambulant person can certainly walk it. And it truly is beautiful. It isn't a particularly hot day today, but if it was, I think it would still be beautiful in here. Rainforest trees, buttress roots, crows. G'day, mate. Something else that's changing here is in the creek. I'm seeing more of this iron bacteria. The iron staining in the creek over there. One of the reasons the Enoggera granites are not used in building is they contain high quantities of pyrites. Iron pyrites, in fact. And when it contacts water, it turns back into iron oxide rust. And I think that's what we're seeing there. Anyway, not much further to go till we get to the dam. I'm looking forward to a rest. This has been a long walk. Let's keep going. Here we are, folks. We're in Enoggera Creek still, right up near the dam, and she's a bit of a mess from the flood here. Oh look, here's the boundary fence for the dam complex. Oh, we seem to be on the wrong side of it. Well, it's a matter of opinion really, isn't it? Anyway, we'll keep going. No signs, no fence, no problem. As you can see, they copped one hell of a hiding here with the flood. But anyway, we'll keep going. I didn't walk all this way not to get a picture of that dam. We're going to get a picture of that dam. If you look up the river there, you can see two big pipes heading into some concrete pads. I suspect they are the pipes that we've been following with those manhole covers. Well, here we are, folks. We've reached somewhat of our journey. Behind me is the Enoggera Dam wall, and this is as far as we can go today. My family don't like me walking through the bush outside cell range by myself anymore, so I've got to arrange a companion, which will be fine. We'll do the other side of this dam wall. The creek goes for about another 15 kilometres up through the bush, and it's a beautiful thing. I've done it before, just didn't video it, and we might take a gold pan with us and just see what we can find. So anyway, that's it for today. My bus is over there. They move every 15 minutes, and I would really be happy if you would like and subscribe to this video, because it helps. Anyway, keep rocking. T-Rocks out.
Here we go. That's your lot for the week again in Enoggera Creek. This was a big one. Caught some buses, great buses. You can see nearly everything I've shown you here off a 385 bus. It's just fantastic. And if you want to go down to the lower parts, maybe a 61 bus or a 345, those things will take you there. T-Rocks doesn't take cars. He catches buses and trains and walks because you can. It's lovely. Anyway, that was just such a pleasure. That is such a beautiful creek. Look forward to doing above the dam. It's still a very long way. We're probably only about 2/3 of the way up this creek, and we're at nearly an hour. And I've cut a lot out. I have a directory on my computer called The Can, and it has got a lot of footage in it. You never know. Might be able to recycle it, use it for something else one day. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you to all the new subscribers. It really very much appreciated. Welcome. I'd love to have you here, and all of you guys that watch this right through to the end. I do appreciate it. The channel's growing well, but you know, it's a lot of work. But no one ever said it was a get-rich-quick scheme. So anyway, while I was up at the dam the other day, the dam supervisor was wandering around, and he said his wife had just joined an organisation called DAM. Apparently it stands for Mothers Against Dyslexia.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, and hey, you made it this far, please help us to poke the algorithm and smash that like button like it's Space 1999. And if you want to see more, subscribe and share this with, say, 1,000 of your closest friends. And let's see just how far that little algorithm can go before its CPU explodes. Cop you later.